It was an ordinary day in the small town of Willowbrook, where life moved at a slow and predictable pace. The sun hung lazily in the sky, casting golden rays over rows of wooden houses painted in cheerful colors. Children laughed as they chased each other through the park, their shouts blending with the chirping of birds perched on tree branches. Cars lined up patiently at traffic lights, drivers tapping steering wheels to tunes playing softly on car radios. Everything seemed normal. Too normal, almost eerily so. No one could have guessed that within hours this quiet little town would become the center of something extraordinary. At around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it happened. The first sign came as a low rumble, faint but growing louder by the second. People paused what they were doing, looking around curiously. Was it thunder, a distant earthquake? The ground didn't shake, though, and the sky remained clear without a single cloud. Then, just as suddenly as the sound began, the unthinkable occurred. The sky itself appeared to split open. It wasn't like glass breaking or fabric tearing, it was more surreal than that. A jagged line formed high above, glowing faintly blue at its edges. Slowly, the gap widened, revealing not emptiness, but a vast expanse filled with shimmering silver ships. The sight sent shockwaves through the crowd. Below, gasps turned into screams as people realized what they were witnessing. Spaceships. But these weren't the sleek, disc-shaped UFOs people had joked about for decades. These were colossal structures, each one larger than entire cities. They loomed ominously overhead, their metallic surfaces reflecting sunlight in dazzling patterns. Some of them looked like massive triangles with sharp edges. Others resembled floating fortresses bristling with weapons. The largest ship, positioned right in the middle of the formation, dwarfed everything else. Its sheer size made it hard to believe such a thing could exist, let alone hover effortlessly in the air. Panic spread quickly. Parents grabbed their children and ran toward safety, while others froze in place, staring upward in disbelief. Phones buzzed incessantly as everyone tried to record the event or call loved ones. Social media exploded with videos and photos of the alien fleet, accompanied by captions ranging from terrified cries for help to wild conspiracy theories. News helicopters arrived shortly after, circling nervously around the edge of the phenomenon, their pilots too scared to venture closer. Reporters spoke frantically into microphones, struggling to describe what they saw. "This is unprecedented," one reporter stammered. "We don't know who or what they are, but they're here." Yet, despite the chaos unfolding below, the aliens themselves remained eerily silent. There were no laser beams shooting down from the ships, no booming voices demanding surrender. Instead, the vessels simply hovered there, unmoving, as if observing. Their lack of aggression only deepened the mystery. Were they studying humanity, planning an attack? Or was this some kind of cosmic accident? No one knew, and that uncertainty gnawed at everyone's nerves. Miles away from Willowbrook, nestled in a modest house surrounded by tall oak trees, a young girl named Mia sat on her porch, completely unaware of the events unfolding elsewhere. She was 12 years old, with curly brown hair tied back in a messy ponytail and bright green eyes that sparkled whenever she smiled. Today, however, her smile was tinged with sadness. Her mother lay inside, resting after another grueling round of chemotherapy. Cancer had been a part of their lives for 2 years now, stealing energy and joy from both mother and daughter. Yet, Mia refused to give up hope. She found solace in painting, creating vibrant pictures that transported her to worlds far removed from the harsh reality of hospitals and medical bills. On her lap rested a half-finished canvas depicting a swirling galaxy. Streaks of purple and gold danced across the black background, dotted with tiny stars that seemed to twinkle even on the flat surface. Mia worked carefully, her brush moving with practiced ease. Each stroke carried fragments of her imagination, a place where pain didn't exist and dreams came true. When she finished, she planned to sell the painting at the local market, adding the earnings to the jar labeled Mom's Treatment Fund. It wasn't much, but every dollar counted. As dusk approached, Mia leaned back in her chair, admiring her work. For a moment, she allowed herself to dream of traveling beyond Earth, exploring the very galaxy she painted. She wondered what it would feel like to float among the stars, free from gravity and worries. Little did she know, her fantasies were about to collide with reality in ways she couldn't imagine. Somewhere above, hidden behind those massive star destroyers, an alien empire watched silently, confused and perhaps even frightened by the strange species known as humans. And somewhere within that same species, a young girl with a paintbrush held the key to unlocking humanity's greatest strength. A strength rooted not in power or technology, but in creativity, resilience, and love. For now, the world held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Would the invaders strike? Would humanity find a way to fight back? Or was there another path, one that no one had considered yet? Whatever the outcome, one thing was certain: nothing would ever be the same again. The days following the appearance of the alien fleet were unlike anything Willowbrook, or the rest of the world, had ever experienced. The initial panic gave way to a tense, uneasy calm as humanity waited for the invaders to make their move. Governments scrambled to organize responses, scientists worked tirelessly to analyze the ship's technology, and military forces stood on high alert, ready to defend Earth at a moment's notice. Yet despite all the preparations, the aliens remained silent. Their massive star destroyers continued to hover ominously in the sky, unmoving and uncommunicative. It was as if they were studying humanity, watching and waiting for something. But what? In Mia's small town, life had slowed to a crawl. People stayed indoors more often, glued to their TVs and phones, searching for updates about the mysterious visitors. Conversations revolved around theories. Were the aliens here to conquer, to study, or perhaps to warn humanity of some greater danger lurking in the universe? No one knew, and the uncertainty gnawed at everyone's nerves. Even Mia found it hard to focus on her paintings. She tried to lose herself in her art, imagining distant galaxies and colorful nebulae, but her mind kept drifting back to the sight of those enormous ships splitting open the sky. What did it mean? And why hadn't the aliens done anything yet? Amidst the chaos, a stranger arrived in Willowbrook. He came into town on foot, walking down the main road with a duffel bag slung over his shoulder. At first glance, he didn't seem remarkable. A tall man in his mid-30s wearing a weathered leather jacket and jeans faded from years of use. His face was rugged, with sharp cheekbones and piercing gray eyes that seemed to see straight through people. But there was something unusual about him, though no one could quite put their finger on it. Maybe it was the way he carried himself, confident yet cautious, like someone who had seen too much and wasn't easily surprised. Or maybe it was the faint hum of electricity that seemed to follow him, barely noticeable unless you paid close attention. The stranger introduced himself simply as Eli. When asked where he was headed or why he'd come to Willowbrook, he shrugged and said he was just passing through. Most people accepted this explanation without question. After all, these were strange times and strangers weren't uncommon anymore. Some even speculated that Eli might be a journalist or researcher looking into the alien phenomenon. Whatever the case, he checked into a modest inn near the edge of town and began making regular trips to the local market, where Mia sold her paintings. It was during one of these visits that Eli first noticed Mia's artwork. Her little stand stood out among the usual stalls selling fruits, vegetables, and handmade crafts. Bright canvases leaned against the wooden frame, each one bursting with color and imagination. There were swirling galaxies, fiery sunsets, serene forests, and fantastical creatures that looked like they belonged in fairy tales. Eli paused, studying the pieces intently. Something about them caught his eye, not just the skill behind the brushstrokes, but the emotion they conveyed. Each painting told a story, filled with hope, wonder, and resilience. After a few moments, Eli approached Mia. "These are incredible," he said, his voice warm yet tinged with sadness. "Did you paint them yourself?" Mia nodded shyly, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Yeah, I did, thanks," she replied, trying not to sound too proud. She wasn't used to compliments, especially from adults who rarely took interest in her work beyond buying a piece to support her cause. "I'll take this one," Eli said, pointing to a painting of a galaxy with streaks of purple and gold. He handed her a crumpled bill and smiled. "You've got real talent." As Mia wrapped the painting carefully, Eli lingered, asking questions about her inspiration and technique. They ended up talking for nearly an hour, sharing stories about art, dreams, and even the looming alien threat. Mia hesitated before admitting why she painted so passionately. It wasn't just for fun. Every sale went toward her mother's chemotherapy treatments. Hearing this, Eli's expression softened further. He didn't say much, but Mia noticed the way his jaw tightened slightly, as if holding back words he desperately wanted to speak. Over the next few days, Eli became a frequent visitor to Mia's porch. Sometimes he stopped by while she painted outside, offering advice on techniques to improve her shading or perspective. Other times he sat quietly, watching her work with an intensity that made her curious. Despite his reserved nature, there was kindness in his demeanor, and Mia couldn't help but trust him. She shared bits of her life, the struggles of caring for her sick mother, her dreams of traveling beyond Earth, and her fear of what the aliens might do next. In return, Eli listened patiently, nodding occasionally but rarely speaking about himself. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the yard, Mia decided to ask the question that had been nagging at her. "Why are you really here, Eli?" she blurted out, her voice hesitant but firm. "You don't strike me as someone who's just passing through." Eli froze for a split second, then let out a soft chuckle. "Sharp kid," he muttered, under his breath. For a moment he stared off into the distance as if weighing his options. Finally he turned to Mia, his gray eyes meeting hers with unwavering seriousness. "Let's just say I know more about those ships than most people do," he said cryptically, "and I think you might have a role to play in whatever happens next." Before Mia could press him for details, Eli stood up and stretched. "Get some rest," he told her gently. "Tomorrow's going to be a big day." With that, he walked away, leaving Mia puzzled but intrigued. Who was Eli, really? And how did he know so much about the aliens? More importantly, what did he mean by saying she had a role to play? As Mia lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, her thoughts raced. She thought about the paintings she'd created, the stories they told, and the emotions they carried. Could something as simple as art truly matter in the face of an interstellar invasion? Deep down, she wanted to believe it could. After all, creativity was one of the things that made humans unique. Wasn't it possible that the aliens saw value in that too? Meanwhile, unknown to Mia, Eli sat alone in his room at the inn, staring at a glowing map projected onto the wall. The map showed Earth surrounded by red dots representing the alien fleet. He sighed heavily, rubbing his temples. Time was running out. If his plan failed, humanity would be doomed. But if it succeeded, well, that depended entirely on Mia and whether she was ready to step into the spotlight. As he turned off the projection and climbed into bed, Eli allowed himself a small smile. Humanity still had a chance, and it rested in the hands of a brave young girl with a paintbrush. The next morning dawned gray and overcast, the clouds hanging low as if mirroring the heaviness in everyone's hearts. The alien fleet still loomed above Earth, their silence stretching into days. People around the world whispered prayers or clenched fists in frustration, unsure whether to hope for peace or prepare for war. In Willowbrook, life continued in a fragile state of limbo. Shops reopened cautiously, children played hesitantly under watchful parental eyes, but no one could shake the feeling that something monumental was about to happen. For Mia, the day started like any other. She woke early, kissed her sleeping mother on the forehead, and carried her paints outside to set up her stand. Despite everything happening in the skies above, she knew her family needed every penny she could earn. As she arranged her canvases, Eli appeared, walking briskly toward her with an air of urgency. His usual calm demeanor was gone, replaced by a look of determination etched across his face. Without waiting for pleasantries, He gestured for Mia to follow him. "Come with me," he said firmly. "There's something I need to show you." Mia hesitated. She trusted Eli, but his sudden seriousness made her nervous. Still, curiosity got the better of her, and she grabbed her coat before following him. They walked silently through the quiet streets until they reached the edge of town, where dense woods stretched endlessly. Here, Eli stopped and pulled out a small device from his duffel bag. It looked like nothing more than a black cube, plain and unassuming. But when he activated it, a holographic screen flickered to life, displaying images of the alien ships and diagrams filled with strange symbols. "What is this?" Mia asked, staring wide-eyed at the display. Eli took a deep breath, his expression softening slightly. "It's time I told you the truth," he said. "I'm not human, Mia." Her heart skipped a beat. For a moment, she thought she'd misunderstood. But as Eli spoke, his words painted a picture so incredible yet terrifying that it left her speechless. He explained that he belonged to another galactic civilization, one far removed from the Empire controlling the star destroyers currently hovering above Earth. According to Eli, the invaders were part of a ruthless regime known for conquering weaker species and stripping them of resources. Their hesitation stemmed from disbelief. Humans, despite being technologically inferior, possessed qualities the Empire couldn't comprehend: creativity, resilience, and unity. "To them, your kind is unpredictable," Eli continued. "They fear what they don't understand. Art, music, literature, all the things you create have no practical purpose in survival. To the Empire, anything without utility is considered inefficient and therefore dangerous." Mia listened intently, her mind racing. She had always believed art was powerful. It gave meaning to life, expressed emotions, and connected people, but she never imagined it could be seen as a threat. Yet here was Eli telling her that humanity's greatest strength might lie in its ability to dream and create. "But why are you helping us?" Mia finally asked. "And why tell me all this?" Eli smiled faintly, though there was sadness in his eyes. "Because I believe in humanity," he replied, "and because I think you can help save it." He went on to explain his plan. Using stolen technology from the Empire, he had modified a satellite capable of transmitting visual signals directly into space. If they broadcasted examples of human creativity, specifically Mia's paintings, they might convince the invaders that Earth wasn't worth conquering. By showcasing the beauty and unpredictability of human imagination, they could turn humanity's perceived weakness into its greatest weapon. Mia felt a mix of awe and dread wash over her. This wasn't just about selling paintings anymore. Her work would represent all of humanity, speaking to an alien race that viewed logic and efficiency as the ultimate goals. Could her simple brushstrokes truly sway an interstellar army? What if she failed? The weight of responsibility pressed down on her shoulders, making it hard to breathe. Seeing her hesitation, Eli placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You don't have to decide right now," he said gently. "Take some time to think about it. But remember, Mia, the universe has chosen you for a reason. Your art isn't just pretty pictures. It's proof that even in the darkest times, humans find ways to create light." Later that evening, Mia sat alone on her porch, staring at the glowing streaks of paint on her latest canvas. The colors, swirled together chaotically yet somehow harmoniously, reflecting the turmoil inside her. She thought about her mother, lying frail and brave in bed, fighting cancer with every ounce of strength she had. She thought about the countless strangers around the world who were scared, confused, and praying for a miracle. And she thought about herself, a 12-year-old girl with nothing but a paintbrush and a stubborn refusal to give up. By the time the stars began to peek through the clouds, Mia had made up her mind. She wouldn't let fear hold her back. If her art could inspire hope among humans, maybe it could do the same for beings beyond Earth. Grabbing her favorite pieces, she ran to Eli's inn, determined to share her decision. When Eli opened the door, he didn't seem surprised to see her. Instead, he nodded approvingly as if he'd expected nothing less. Together, they spent the night preparing for the transmission. Mia carefully selected her best works, arranging them in a sequence that told a story of resilience and wonder. From fiery sunsets symbolizing hope to serene forests representing peace, each painting carried fragments of the human spirit. As dawn broke, word spread quickly through Willowbrook about the upcoming event. Volunteers gathered at Mia's house, eager to help however they could. Projectors illuminated rooftops with her artwork, while drones filmed the scene for global broadcasts. Local musicians played haunting melodies, adding depth to the atmosphere. Even Mia's mother, weak but smiling, watched from her bedroom window, tears streaming down her face. At exactly noon, the signal launched into space. Millions held their breath as satellites transmitted Mia's paintings to the alien fleet. Hours passed with no response. Just as despair began creeping in, the unthinkable happened. One by one, the massive ships started retreating, not in haste, but slowly, methodically, as though bowing before an unseen force. News networks erupted with cheers, and celebrations broke out worldwide. Humanity had won, not through weapons or negotiations, but through its ability to dream and create. That night, as fireworks lit up the sky, Mia stood beside Eli, gazing upward. The stars twinkled brightly, free once again. Though exhausted, she felt a sense of pride she'd never known before. Somewhere out there, among the infinite galaxies, her art had spoken louder than words ever could. The moment the alien fleet began retreating, a wave of relief swept across the globe. It started subtly, a faint hum in the air, as if the universe itself was exhaling after holding its breath for days. Then came the realization. The ships were moving. Slowly at first, almost imperceptibly, but soon their massive forms shifted, turning away from Earth's atmosphere. One by one they disappeared into the void beyond the sky, leaving behind only silence and wonder. In Willowbrook, the reaction was immediate and overwhelming. People poured out of their homes, hugging strangers, cheering and crying tears of joy. Fireworks exploded in the night sky, their bursts of color reflecting off the faces of those who had just witnessed humanity's greatest triumph. News helicopters buzzed overhead, capturing every second of the celebration while reporters struggled to find words grand enough to describe what had happened. "We did it," one anchor repeated over and over, his voice trembling with emotion. "We stood together and we won." For Mia, the victory felt surreal. Standing on her porch, surrounded by neighbors and friends, she clutched a paintbrush in one hand and a half-finished canvas in the other. Her heart raced as she watched the last of the Star Destroyers vanish into the horizon. The weight of what she had done, or rather, what her art had done, pressed heavily on her young shoulders. She hadn't fired a weapon or negotiated terms. Instead, she had painted galaxies and sunsets, forests and dreams. And somehow that had been enough. Eli stood quietly beside her, his arms crossed and his expression unreadable. Unlike the others, he didn't cheer or celebrate. Instead, he observed the scene with a mixture of pride and sadness, as though he understood something no one else did. When Mia finally turned to him, her green eyes wide with questions, he simply nodded. "You did well," he said softly. "Better than I could have hoped." But even amidst the joy, doubts lingered. Why had the aliens left? What had truly convinced them to retreat? Scientists scrambled to analyze data, searching for clues in the signals transmitted during the broadcast. Some speculated that the invaders saw humanity's creativity as proof of unpredictability, an enemy too chaotic to conquer. Others believed the paintings sparked curiosity, prompting the aliens to reconsider their plans. Whatever the reason, one thing was clear. Humanity's artistic spirit had saved the day. Over the following weeks, life slowly returned to normal, or as close to normal as possible after such an event. Schools reopened, businesses resumed, operations and people tried to pick up where they'd left off, yet nothing was quite the same. Conversations revolved around the alien encounter, theories about their motives, and debates about humanity's future among the stars. Art galleries saw record attendance as people flocked to admire works inspired by the crisis. Paintings, sculptures, and performances became symbols of hope, reminding everyone of the power of creativity in the face of adversity. Mia found herself thrust into the spotlight. Reporters camped outside her house, eager to interview the girl, whose paintings had changed the course of history. Social media hailed her as a hero, sharing photos of her artwork and calling her Earth's ambassador. At first, Mia hated the attention. She wasn't used to being in the public eye, and the constant scrutiny made her uncomfortable, but Eli encouraged her to embrace it, explaining that her newfound fame could be used for good. "You've been given a platform," he told her one evening as they sat on her porch. "Use it wisely. Show the world what you believe in." Taking his advice to heart, Mia organized traveling exhibitions featuring not just her own work, but pieces from artists around the globe. Each exhibit highlighted themes of peace, diversity, and resilience, emphasizing the importance of unity in times of crisis. From war-torn regions to bustling cities, her shows attracted crowds of all ages and backgrounds. Audiences marveled at the range of styles and stories, each piece offering a glimpse into the human experience. Through her efforts, Mia became more than just a painter. She became a symbol of hope, inspiring others to create beauty even in the darkest moments. Meanwhile, Eli prepared to leave. He had stayed in Willowbrook longer than planned, ensuring Mia was ready to handle her new role. Now, however, his mission was complete. On a quiet morning, as golden sunlight bathed the town in warmth, he packed his duffel bag and walked to Mia's house one last time. "I'm leaving today," he announced without preamble. His tone was gentle but firm, leaving no room for argument. Mia's heart sank. Despite knowing he wasn't human, she had grown attached to him. Over the past weeks, he had become a mentor, a confidant, and a friend. "Will I ever see you again?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Eli smiled faintly, though there was sadness in his eyes. "Maybe someday," he replied. "But until then, remember this. The universe is vast and humanity has much to offer. Your journey isn't over, it's only beginning." Before departing, he handed her a small pendant shaped like a teardrop. It glimmered faintly in the light, its surface etched with intricate patterns. "This is for you," he explained. "A universal translator. Someday you'll understand why." With that, Eli turned and walked away, disappearing into the distance. Mia watched him go, clutching the pendant tightly. Though she wanted to cry, she forced herself to smile. She knew Eli wouldn't want her to dwell on goodbyes. Instead, she focused on the road ahead, the path he had helped set her on. As weeks turned into months, Mia continued spreading her message of hope and creativity. Her exhibits traveled internationally, drawing praise from critics and audiences alike. Schools invited her to speak about her experiences, and charities sought her support for fundraising campaigns. Everywhere she went, she shared her belief that art could bridge divides, heal wounds, and inspire change. Her mother, meanwhile, showed signs of improvement. The extra funds raised through Mia's sales allowed access to better treatments, and her condition stabilized. Watching her mom grow stronger filled Mia with renewed determination. She vowed to keep painting, not just for herself but for everyone who needed a reminder that even in the face of despair, beauty could still bloom. At night, when the world grew quiet, Mia often stepped outside to gaze at the stars. She thought about the aliens who had come and gone, wondering what they had seen in humanity's creations. Had they understood the depth of emotion behind each brushstroke? Or had they simply decided Earth wasn't worth the risk? She also thought about Eli, imagining where he might be now, and whether he missed her as much as she missed him. Despite the lingering mysteries, Mia felt a deep sense of gratitude. The alien encounter had taught her, and the rest of humanity, that strength wasn't always measured in power or technology. Sometimes it resided in the smallest acts of courage, the simplest expressions of love, and the boundless potential of imagination. And as long as humans continued to dream, to create, and to connect, they would always have a chance against whatever challenges lay ahead. For now, Mia kept painting. Her canvases grew bolder, brighter, and more daring, each piece a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. One day she hoped to venture beyond Earth, exploring the very galaxies she had once dreamed of. Until then, she remained grounded, using her art to remind others that even the tiniest spark could illuminate the darkest corners of the universe. Years passed since the day the alien fleet retreated, leaving Earth's skies clear once more. The memory of that event, however, never faded. It became a part of humanity's collective consciousness, a turning point in history that reshaped how people viewed themselves and their place in the universe. Schools added chapters to textbooks about the Star Destroyer crisis, as it came to be known. Museums dedicated entire wings to the artwork that had played such a pivotal role in averting disaster. And in every corner of the globe, discussions continued about what it meant to be human in a vast, unpredictable cosmos. For Mia, life transformed in ways she could never have imagined. Once a shy girl selling paintings to help her mother fight cancer, she grew into a renowned figure whose influence extended far beyond art. Her traveling exhibitions evolved into global movements, inspiring millions to embrace creativity as a tool for healing and connection. She spoke at conferences, met world leaders, and even collaborated with scientists exploring the potential of art in interstellar communication. Yet, despite her growing fame, Mia remained grounded. She attributed her success not to herself, but to the universal power of imagination, a force strong enough to sway even the most advanced civilizations. Her mother recovered fully, thanks in large part to the improved treatments funded by Mia's efforts. Watching her mom regain strength filled Mia with pride and gratitude. Together, they often reminisced about the early days when Mia painted on the porch, dreaming of galaxies she'd only seen in books. Now, those dreams felt closer than ever. The thought of one day traveling among the stars no longer seemed impossible. It felt inevitable. But even as Mia flourished, questions lingered in the back of her mind. What had truly convinced the aliens to leave? Why had Eli chosen her, of all people, to carry humanity's message? And where was he now? These unanswered mysteries haunted her quietly, like faint echoes of a song she couldn't quite remember. Occasionally, she would take out the pendant Eli had given her, the universal translator, and hold it in her palm, wondering when or how it might reveal its secrets. For now, though, it remained silent, its purpose unclear. One evening, several years after the crisis, Mia stood on a stage in front of thousands of people. The occasion was the unveiling of her latest exhibition, titled Humanity's Canvas. This time, instead of showcasing just her own work, she curated pieces from artists around the world, each contributing their interpretation of unity and resilience. The centerpiece was a massive mural stretching across an entire wall, depicting Earth surrounded by swirling galaxies. Within the mural were tiny details, faces of people from different cultures, symbols of peace, and fragments of landscapes representing every continent. It was, in many ways, a love letter to humanity itself. As Mia addressed the audience, her voice steady yet passionate, she reflected on everything that had brought her here. Art isn't just something we create, she said, pausing to let her words sink in. It's who we are. It's how we tell our stories, share our hopes, and remind ourselves that we're not alone. When the aliens looked at us, I think they saw that truth. They saw beauty in our imperfections, strength in our differences, and courage in our ability to dream. The crowd erupted in applause, but Mia barely heard them. Her eyes drifted upward toward the ceiling as if searching for answers hidden among the stars. Somewhere out there, she believed, the aliens were watching, or perhaps remembering. Maybe they still didn't understand humanity completely, but that was okay. Humanity didn't always understand itself either. What mattered was the willingness to keep trying, to keep creating, and to keep reaching for something greater. After the event ended, Mia wandered outside, needing a moment to breathe. The night air was cool, carrying the scent of blooming flowers. Above her, the sky stretched endlessly, dotted with countless stars. She reached into her pocket and pulled out the pendant, holding it up to catch the moonlight. Its surface shimmered faintly, almost as if responding to her thoughts. Suddenly, a soft hum emanated from the pendant. Startled, Mia lowered it, her heart racing. The hum grew louder, accompanied by a series of clicks and whirs, until finally, a holographic image flickered to life before her eyes. It was Eli, his familiar face smiling warmly. "Hello, Mia," he said, his voice calm and steady. "I told you someday you'd understand why this was important." Mia stared at him, speechless. "Eli," she whispered, unsure if she was dreaming. "I'm sorry I couldn't stay," he continued. "But I wanted to explain a few things before I left for good. That pendant contains recordings, not just from me but from others across the galaxy who believe in your species. You see, humanity's greatest asset isn't its technology or resources. It's your capacity to imagine, to hope, and to connect. Those qualities make you unique, unpredictable, and ultimately unstoppable." He paused, his expression softening. "The aliens didn't retreat because they feared you. They left because they respected you. They saw your creativity as proof that you deserve a chance to grow, to explore, and to shape your own destiny. And I chose you, Mia, because you embody everything that makes your kind extraordinary." Tears welled up in Mia's eyes as she listened. She wanted to ask so many questions, to thank him, to beg him to come back, but the hologram began fading before she could speak. "One last thing," Eli added, his smile widening slightly. "You'll see me again. Not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday. Until then, keep painting, keep dreaming, and keep showing the universe what it means to be human." With that, the hologram disappeared, leaving Mia alone under the starlit sky. She clutched the pendant tightly, feeling a mix of sadness and awe. For the first time, she truly understood the magnitude of what had happened and the responsibility that came with it. In the years that followed, Mia dedicated herself to preparing humanity for the future. Inspired by Eli's words, she worked tirelessly to promote education, innovation, and collaboration. She founded programs teaching children the value of creativity and launched initiatives encouraging international cooperation. Her ultimate goal was simple yet ambitious: to ensure humanity was ready when the stars called again, and call they did. Decades later, as Mia grew older, humanity took its first steps beyond Earth. Space exploration flourished, driven by curiosity, and fueled by the lessons learned during the Star Destroyer crisis. Artists accompanied astronauts on missions, documenting journeys through poetry, music, and visual art. Scientists studied alien artifacts discovered on distant moons, seeking clues about the empire that had once threatened Earth. Slowly but surely, humanity began carving out its place among the stars. Through it all, Mia remained a guiding light. Though retired and living quietly in Willowbrook, she continued painting, her canvases now adorned with scenes of planets, nebulae, and spacecraft. Each piece carried a message of hope, reminding viewers of the boundless possibilities waiting beyond the horizon. On clear nights, she would sit on her porch, gazing at the sky and wondering whether Eli was out there somewhere, watching over her. One evening, as twilight painted the heavens in hues of orange and pink, Mia noticed something unusual. A faint glow in the distance moving steadily closer. At first she thought it was a satellite or a meteor, but as it approached she realized it was a ship. Its sleek design was unlike anything she'd ever seen, shimmering with colors that shifted like liquid rainbows. Heart pounding, she stood, up clutching the pendant tightly. The ship descended gently, landing in a nearby field. A hatch opened and a figure stepped out. Tall, with piercing gray eyes and a weathered leather jacket, he smiled warmly. "Hey, Mia," he said. "Told you I'd see you again." Tears streamed down Mia's face as she ran toward him, laughing and crying at the same time. For a moment, all the years apart melted away, leaving only joy and gratitude. Together, they walked back to her porch, ready to face whatever adventures lay ahead, because in the end, Mia knew one thing for certain: humanity's story was far from over. It was just beginning.